Hello everybody, my name's Nicola and welcome back to my channel. This is the Frugal Cottage where we talk all things money to help you on your financial journey. Today's video is all about why being frugal will help your finances no end in 2024. So don't forget to like and subscribe and let's get started. So you will know, if you've followed me for any time at all, that I am all about frugal living. I'm about saving money, investing and just living a life where you're mindful about where your money goes. And so this video is about how being frugal will only improve your finances as you go through 2024 and beyond, obviously. But it's time to put these things into practice. And the point behind this video is that I'm hoping to show you that even if your income is low or it fluctuates or it can be really precarious, you can learn to thrive. The first thing about how being frugal will help you with your finances is that it will help you to build an emergency fund. So one of the absolute foundations of kind of money and being better with money and kind of understanding money more is to get an emergency fund in place. Now, an emergency fund is something that is supposed to be only touched in an emergency. So say your boiler breaks or your washing machine or something needs repairing urgently, instead of having to try and find the money from goodness knows where, you are supposed to have an emergency fund where you can take that from. And there are various ideas about how much your emergency fund should be. Now, there is kind of a general rule of thumb that everybody everywhere should have an emergency fund of £1,000 or $1,000 in an easy access savings account that you can get to immediately. There's no point in having this somewhere that you can't get to. The whole point is that you have it there in an emergency. And then once you've got that and you are more comfortable with your financial kind of foundation, you can then build on that and have, I guess, however much you want in there. But being frugal will help you to achieve that emergency fund goal. So the second one is to do with rising prices and inflation, and we know that rising prices in what feels like everywhere and just the general cost of living is going up, and it feels sometimes like there'll be no end to that. And so even really basic food items in the supermarket are seeming to go up, and even if you don't shop extravagantly, those kind of basics that you get all the time are still kind of being there and going up and being expensive, and not even being expensive, but if everything in your food shop goes up by 10 pence, so then that kind of adds up to more than maybe you're expecting. And so the knock-on effect is then every week after that it's going to be more than you wanted to spend. And so even with the basics costing more, being frugal will help with that, because you are going to be more mindful about what you're buying, about what you can manage. Can you buy things in bulk, which saves money in the long run? You're not getting any kind of food waste. So I meal plan and prep every week, and so minimising food waste really helps as well. So I've got a meal planner. I'll leave a link down below to it. It's on my blog. I use it all the time for my own meal planning and food shop so that I don't waste money, but being mindful of those price rises and also be mindful, I guess, of what's on your shopping list to begin with will help in terms of the cost of living and the cost of things going up. And I mentioned this in the previous point, but if you can buy in bulk to save money, then absolutely can. So being frugal is not about spending the least money possible. It's not about that. It's about being mindful and being careful about where your money goes and what you spend it on. And buying in bulk is one of these things where, yes, the initial outlay is more because you might be buying a bigger version of something, but it's cheaper in the long run, because price per kilogram, or price per how many things are in that, the more you can buy, the less that is. So it is more cost effective if you can buy in bulk. However, obviously with that comes the premise that you have somewhere to store it. So if you're going to buy in bulk, be mindful of the fact that if you're going to buy loads of pasta, for example, because you can get massive bags of pasta in the supermarket which do work out cheaper. However, you've then got to find somewhere for that massive bag of pasta. So just be careful of that. Be mindful of when you're buying in bulk, which is good for kind of a longer term balancing out of money. You have to have somewhere to store that in the meantime, but it is good if you've got the space. Next one is to make sure you have a budget and to stick to that. So there's no point in kind of writing out a budget going, yeah, I've got everything sorted, and then never looking at it again or never kind of keeping on track with it. If you're a regular viewer here, and thank you for that, I use a budget planner and the cash envelope method to kind of balance my own finances. I find that the system, those two things combined, are what keeps me in check, and I like the fact that I have to write stuff down because it makes it more real, and I like using cash because I'm handing over actual cash. I've got so many videos on my channel about why I use the cash envelope method, and I budget with me videos every month show my budget. But if you track your spending and have a budget in place, and budget is not meant to restrict you, it actually helps you to prioritise where you want your money to go rather than it just disappearing. I use the zero-based budget method as well, which means that I account for every single penny, and so therefore I'm making sure that my money goes to the best possible places. But you need to have a budget and to try and stick to it and track your spending throughout the month, because knowledge is power, and that also equates to kind of finances and living frugally. But being mindful of where your goes and feeds into the areas of your life, and honestly it really does help. If you're a long-term watcher of my channel, or you read my blog, or you follow me on social media or whatever, you will know that I love a no spend challenge. So no spend month, no spend year I've also done, and I'm going to talk about these. So this is something that's really like love or hate. You either love no spend days. I track no spend days in my planner. Again, if you've watched my budget with me, you'll know that. But no spend days, or no spend months, or even no spend years, if you want to get that kind of extreme, I guess, are really about really kind of narrowing down on what your money is spent on, where it goes, and are you spending it in ways that will improve your life. And for me, no spend days, months, the challenge is to get as many as possible. It's not like I don't view it as, oh, I can't spend on these days, but I'm going to have a massive blowout at the weekend because I can spend on those days. That isn't how it works for me. I think the more I do the no spend days and the challenges, the less I actually want to spend money, because I find joy in other things. And no spend months particularly are really good for resets. I always do one in January because it seems like a good time to do that, and then I also do one in September because again it's the start of the school year, so again it's like a reset, especially after the summer holidays when everything seems to have cost an absolute fortune. But no spend months can be really good in terms of really tracking, and also tracking right. So I always spend on a Friday because it's the last day of the week, or I always spend on the weekend because I'm busy, or I always end up going here on a Tuesday. You can also track where your pockets are spending on, what they are, and do you have any triggers, or do you go to certain places if you've had like a bad day, like you might pop to the shop on the way home to get, I don't know, chocolate, wine, whatever, if you've had a bad day. It's kind of identifying those, and then you can work on triggers and how you get past that, and tracking your finances and no spend days and all of that in the budget planner, or whatever your method is, really helps you to understand that about your own self, and how you feel relates to how you spend as well. Also about being frugal and how this will improve your finances, and this will improve it in two ways. First of all, the next thing to talk about is to sell your unwanted things. So I know there's been a lot in the news recently about how you're going to be taxed on this. However, it's not quite as simple and or scary as that. It's not. But if you've got unwanted things, sell them through Facebook Marketplace, Vinted, eBay, wherever you want to sell them, and get rid of your things. And there are two positives to this. First of all, you're getting rid of stuff, which means that there'll be less stuff in your house. Two, you're making money from that stuff, so then you can put it to your sinking funds, or you might put it towards a holiday, you might put it towards bills, or whatever you want to put it towards. But also you're making it so that people are benefiting from those things that you no longer use but they want, and therefore it's not kind of just being thrown away into landfill or whatever, but also people are getting to use them when they've still got life in them, if that makes sense. So sell your unwanted things on whichever online platform that you like. Doing that and kind of looking at what you're selling, and are there kind of obvious things that are kind of going to other people that you think, I shouldn't have bought that in the first place. Again, it makes you reflect on why you've got them. And also, do you need to buy that kind of thing again? Maybe not. Is there something better, or something that works better for you? Maybe it all kind of links back to that as well. And the final one about how being frugal will only improve your finances in 2024. And I'm someone who is very much working on this at the moment, especially with all the kind of house decisions I'm having to make, and all of the sales and the January sales and all that kind of stuff, is mindful consumerism. And what I mean by that is, most of the time, kind of bills and essentials and everything else aside, you just don't need it. And I am as guilty of that as anybody. I am very much oh, I want this, or I want that, or this will make my life better, whatever. But actually, 9 times out of 10, you just don't need it. And then that money that you've saved by not spending it can either go on making memories with your family, or having a nice day out, or treating yourself to something that is more meaningful, or putting it towards your longer term savings, or putting it towards a bill that you know will come up and need to be paid, and therefore the pressure is off somewhere. Most of the time, everybody has enough stuff. And I'm using the word stuff because it is stuff, isn't it, at the end of the day, and there is only so much you can fit into a house or wherever. So just be mindful of that. You probably don't need it in the first place. And that's where, so living frugally is not about depriving yourself. I've talked about that a lot kind of over the past few years, because as soon as someone says, oh, you're the frugal cottage, doesn't that mean that you don't ever spend any money? That's so far from the truth. But it's all about spending money and prioritise spending money where I want to. So kind of for me, making memories with my children is really important. Having kind of time with them that they'll remember versus a toy that they won't is really important to me. And so just frugal living is just, it's not about deprivation, it's not about depriving yourself, it's about priorities. So frugal living, the Frugal Cottage was a very deliberate choice of brand name, I suppose, because I want to live in a cottage one day, because I think, like, if you imagine like The Cottage from the Holiday, the film, I'd like to live in something like that one day. But also it's about being mindful so that we get to live the best life possible. So those are my tips for how being frugal will only improve your finances in 2024. And I'm hoping that you will have some to add below, because everybody who watches my channel always has really good ideas and really good comments, and I like it when people have discussions within the comments of two other people who've also watched the video. So if you've got any other tips, feel free to leave them below. And what did you think to mine? Did you think they would work? I'm very reflective at the moment, let's put it that way. So that is my being frugal will only improve your finances in 2024. So thank you for watching as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are not already, and I will see you again very soon.